Hi, welcome everybody. I'm Liz Landers, I'm Vice News' chief political correspondent, and we are here today to talk about some of the biggest issues dividing women across the country. In other words, we're here to talk about feminism. First, I just want to say, we know we can't represent everybody's views, but we did try our best to bring together a diverse group of women today. In today's polarized world, is feminism dead? I saw your hand.
I think that depends on the definition of feminism. I strongly think that feminism is more of an action than an identity. I would say it's uplifting all women, in which case it's very alive. At the same time, if we do follow that definition, feminism has splintered off into so many different areas that you can look at people like Sheryl Sandberg who say you should just get another nanny if you feel oppressed. And if we're talking about that kind of feminism, yeah, it's pretty dead.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the human race exists, feminism will never be dead. There's something that we're always going to have to strive and work towards to make sure that there's equality. So feminism is not dead.
I don't know that it can die. As long as there's power and oppression, there will be people fighting for equity. And until that somehow goes away, feminism is alive and well.
I think feminism isn't actually about equality. It's about equality when it benefits us. I think feminism is really about women wanting special privileges and treatment at the expense of men often. And I think it's alive and well, sadly.
I think feminism is also alive and well. There are different kinds of feminism, right? Like, that is obvious. And for me, as a womanist, as a Black feminist, right, as someone who's really thinking about human rights, dignity, right, equity, right, as long as that need isn't met, we're still gonna keep fighting.
I'd say it's alive and well. I'd say that it's also very nuanced, and I think what it looks like is going to differ depending on where you are in the world. For me, I just see it as a lens, which isn't necessarily antagonistic or protagonistic. It's just a useful tool.
Similar to what Pearl just said, I find that a lot of feminist ideology and thought today feels more of like a supremacist movement rather than something that is supposed to be advancing the goals of equality. I don't think that we can really term what's going on as feminism because it looks so different to, I think, the earlier feminist movements. So in that way, I would say it's taken its last breaths of life. It's dying.
Yeah, I definitely think it's getting more and more radicalized, for sure. So it's definitely still alive.
I think I'll preface and say that I don't know so much about modern Western feminism, and there might be a lot of terms that I don't know, like political jargon and stuff. But I believe in the advancement of women, whoever considers themselves a woman. I think there's a deficiency in society. So it's deeply rooted that feminism has always existed. I think America's a little obsessed with themselves, and it's like always feminism is rooted in America. And like, oh, white women started it. And it's kind of offensive because for thousands of years, women have been dying for their rights.
I think as a Black woman specifically, when you talk about feminism, yeah, the mainstream first thing you think about is a certain type of feminism that tends to exclude still, even today, even with intersectional feminism, exclude African-American women, and it's always kind of done that. And also like, upper middle class white women has predominantly been the face of what we quote unquote consider feminism.
I think feminism is attempting to say, okay, the first thing we agree on is that there are barriers and friction to what I need and what I want based on the fact that I'm a woman. What it ignores is that, and what privilege is that you may not have to think that being a woman and being a Black woman and being a Black woman who has a disability, for example, impacts you further. You have more barriers, you have more friction, you are less able to get what you want. You're undervalued in a way that's like, okay, well, you know, that's life. That's what I mean by equity, and that we're able to, without friction, all get the same needs met.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, see, I disagree with that. I think life is easier if you're a girl, actually.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of benefits that men don't have. I'm not going to speak anything to race. I'm just talking about gender specifically, it's usually like an excuse. Like, honestly, I think as a girl, you have equal opportunity in the world. I think there's benefits. Like, for example, we have quotas for women in specific jobs that are given to us that aren't given to men. So yeah, I would say it's easier being a girl.
Just from a viewpoint over here, though, it seems there's a lot of pretty privilege in what you're saying, and that you're white and you present.
Do you think I'm pretty? Thank you.
I think that you present in a way that beauty standards have accepted.
And
so
they call me ugly on the internet all the time. They be roasting me daily, I swear to God.
I don't mean to say I think you're gorge. I just mean that there are a certain value that we give to certain bodies.
I mean, let's also dig into why these quotas exist and why these, what you're calling
because
privileges
we want
exist.
special treatment.
No, it's because there have historically and presently in most jobs been fewer women and because of sexism.
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can pick
has
what
no
we want to
barriers?
pick.
It doesn't have barriers.
Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do whatever
barriers.
you want.
I
stopping
can
you?
or you can?
What's stopping you? As a woman.
As a woman. See,
as a woman.
That ignores a lot that I'm a woman with a disability. So there's a lot stopping me that you don't have to think about.
Well, as I
you don't
said
have to
before, I'm
think about.
speaking about women. I'm not.
You're
I'm
speaking
not,
you're speaking for yourself.
You're speaking as
an able-bodied white woman.
I
That is
understand.
white.
Represents white.
Of course, there's going to be other barriers if you're disabled. I'm sure. Like I'm talking about as a woman.
So you're
I
just
would
going to
agree.
ignore
White
the
women
pay
have it
gap.
easier, yes. I would agree.
What?
You're just going to ignore the pay gap, regulation over bodies.
Pay gap has been disproven and
pay
debunked
gap doesn't
endlessly,
exist.
my friend.
It doesn't.
that's so funny.
It's the industries that women pick.
Let's talk about it.
There's a pay gap, but it's because women don't want to do the hardest industries.
I don't think it's that simple. I think that's an oversimplification. I think the fact of the matter is that women structure their lives differently to men. Men don't give birth. Men don't have to carry pregnancies. Men don't have to be the primary caregiver most of the time. Women also don't hold jobs for as long as men do. They often will stop and start. They'll go back into work. They'll take time off. They'll take part-time jobs. The way that men work and women work are astronomically different. And to try to say that they're comparable is where this issue comes from. They're not comparable.
Two things. First of all, let's dig into why they think that they should take these jobs, which is societal sexism. And then also, Department of Labor, all statistics, at least speaking in the US, have found that when compared for the same jobs, there still is a pay gap, particularly when it pertains to race.
Because 60% of women have never asked for a raise. So how can you complain about your pay if you don't ask for it?
Why are they not asking?
Wait, what happens when women ask for a raise?
Sorry, I've been
Yes.
wanting to say something, but I want to be respectful. I don't want to interrupt people, and I want to let them finish their thoughts.
Jump in, just
But
go
it's
through the
just,
wall.
it is a very privileged label, right, to be able to say that you're feminist, right? And I say that because I come from a working class background of Dominican immigrant parents. My mother would not necessarily identify as a feminist. I look to my mother, and I do think of her as a feminist. A lot of my ideas and my empowerment comes from seeing her, like, survive and put food on the table.